I have general advice that I have found to be helpful in my dating journey. And so when I give you guys advice, I give you guys advice based on the probability of it working versus the probability of it not working, right? And so it's not that there can't be outliers, because there definitely can be. It's just that I don't want you to bank on you being in a situation that's a little bit out there that you're going to be able to make successful, because I've seen in my journey that more often than not, you're not going to be the exception to the rule. But that said, I have a couple messages that I got whereby guys were pointing out examples of situations that they saw or they are in where that is very much the case. And so I want to read those and then kind of give my 2 cents on these situations. All right. So this first guy, I have a video that I did called Real Life Consequences of Dating Single Moms. And that's where I'm giving general advice, basically, where guys had written under my comments of my previous video, 10 Reasons Not to Date Single Moms, where they were basically saying, yeah, the stuff you talked about in that video, I experienced these various things, and this is why I don't recommend doing it either, right? So again, general advice video. So this guy left a comment under there, and he said, I love my single mom. She treats me great with no headaches or drama and is very submissive and obedient. Oh, and very affectionate too. So he's basically saying that, I've said in these videos that sometimes single moms can be bitter and that they might have resentment towards the ex that left them or they left them or whatever. And so they might not always have the best of attitudes. They might have a situation going on where there's a lot of drama involved. And so it can create headaches and drama. And also because they're the head of their household, they're very used to being the one to make all the decisions. So when it comes to you being in the situation with them, they might not be as submissive because they're so used to ruling everything with an iron fist, right? So again, this is an example of, I have never anytime said, don't date single moms ever. I said, if you're asking me if I would recommend dating a single mom, my answer would be, I could not recommend that, because for every single mom that is good out there, there's like other women that are single that are also good and don't come with the baggage of having children attached to them. Now, regardless of whether the kid is good or bad, children are going to be baggage. They're things that came from a previous relationship that still have to be dealt with, because the past, i.e. their father, if their father's in the picture, is still going to be somebody that you also have to deal with. Now, does this mean this guy's in a bad situation? Absolutely not, because there are single moms out there that have a good head on their shoulders and that are about their business, and more importantly, have handled their drama and life situation to where they can bring somebody into the situation and not have so much drama thrown upon them. And even with that, though, this guy is saying that based on now. He doesn't say he's married to her. He could be, but more to the point, that doesn't mean that drama will never come up. With kids, inevitably, whether something at school happens or something on the dad side of things happens, drama can still pop up. It could just be that she's better at handling it, and kudos to her. But here's the thing. He happened to find this single mom. That's fantastic. I would not now come on here and say, hey, so because he found a single mom that was absolutely great and affectionate and no headaches, that you should do the same thing. I would still say that is an exception to the rule, and that is a crapshoot. But the probability of this being the positive situation that it is a lot less than you finding a woman that has no kids, that is single, that doesn't have that baggage in her life, that's going to be able to pay more attention to you and your relationship, and you can build stuff together. That's going to still be a better situation. If you happen to find a single mom that checks all your boxes, I say kudos, please make it work, because I am not downing anybody in this world finding love. And the reality is there are plenty of single dads and moms out there that are able to find love and reconnect and build and be able to have a happy lifestyle. It's not as high of a probability of that as finding somebody that doesn't have all that stuff. So yeah, is it an exception? Yeah, but I wouldn't want, again, to make you think that you're going to be able to find that same exception easier than you would finding somebody that's already single. So that's the first one. And then I have a guy that I've been coaching, and he mentioned, this is just a random message that he sent me, but he said, there's a person on my work team. He's been texting this girl in this different country every day for the past 3 years or so. This girl is hot, and she is a singer. She performs on stage, has an amazing voice, whereas this other guy that's on my team looks and acts very similar to Dwight on The Office. He's the guy that's kind of pudgy. He had the glasses and the hair, and he was very he could be very narcissistic at times. If you guys ever watched The Office with Steve Carell, it's a great show. Anyway, he says, yet she invited him over there to live with him for 2 months and then didn't want him to leave. So crazy. So you might think, okay, is this going against what you talk about? Because, she's very hot. She's a singer. She's probably very, very popular and all this stuff. And yet somehow this nerdy looking dude, it looks like a dude from The Office, is able to get her to be like falling all over him and inviting him over and probably paying for his trip. And now she's trying to beg him to stay over there. Like, and my answer is like, that's how it should happen. And I think the disconnect is that guys will see that and be like, wait, how's this nerdy guy that's really kind of dorky getting this really hot girl? And that speaks to what I always talk about, which is that you guys are trying to base your stats of what a woman's going to want on what you would want. Like you're thinking, well, if she's a singer, she's famous, and she's got a nice voice, and she's really, really pretty, how would she want a nerdy dude? But that's because you're thinking, well, if I saw a girl that was like ugly and whatever, this is that, then I wouldn't want to date her. But women are looking beyond just surface stuff. We don't know what her and this guy's conversations are. We don't know if he's saying stuff to make her laugh or to feel vibrant and funny, or the fact that she is a singer means that maybe he's the one person that doesn't seem to want her for her looks or her fame or whatever. It's just, he just really wants her authentically for her, you know? And women will do that. Like women that really have a high interest in you and that love you and care for you, they will do things like pay for you to come see them, pay for your trips, pay for your dinners, all this other stuff. And so, you know, you might be thinking, but that doesn't make sense. But it does make sense if you realize that he had other things about him that he knew to accentuate to make her want to fall for him, whether it was, maybe it wasn't his looks. Again, maybe it's his personality. Maybe they just really vibe well, whatever. But like, he was smart enough to realize, okay, I'm not the best looking guy, but what things can I bring to the table? Here's the other thing too. A lot of hot women don't get hit on. They have all these other, you're sitting there thinking, well, this girl's probably got a bunch of dudes hitting on her, probably does, and none of them are approaching her because she's so hot. So this guy happens to have the guts and the balls to just go up to this girl, or I don't know how they met, if she's in a different country, maybe through texting or whatever, but is able to like be bold enough to step to her and say, hey, you know, I think you're hot, I want to see you, blah, blah, blah. Then that confidence and that boldness is going to be the attractive thing that makes her fall for him, you know? But anyway, so then he says, there was this other girl that was saying that her first date with this high school hunky guy, she was so afraid of the first date that she asked him if she could bring her friend Vicky along. So her first date with him was a group date, and then they started dating after that. So there are all kinds of things here that go against the typical rules. So what he's referring to is this, is that I typically tell you guys in the first 3 months of dating, ideally it's going to just be you and her. And that you don't want to really bring friends around because friends can oftentimes taint her perception of you, because you're not only does she not have a full picture of who you are yet, but the friends don't have a picture. And a lot of women's friends honestly are judgmental and are thinking like, I got to look for all the red flags in this guy for my girlfriend. And in the process of that, you could be out, you know? And so, but to his point, like this is a situation where she was nervous for that first date. And so she invited a friend along. Now, when my mom was younger, she was friends with my now aunt. Well, I guess always my aunt technically because we're in the same family bloodline. But the point is that when they were friends in school, my aunt was like, hey, you should meet this guy who became my dad. He's a really cool guy. And my mom was like, I don't want to do that. I don't deal with guys, I'm nervous, yada, yada, yada. And she said, well, hey, why don't we go have dinner at his place? I'll be there so I can, you know, if anything weird happens, I'll be in the buffer zone, but like you guys can meet and there's no pressure. And so that's what they did. They went to my dad's house, apartment at the time, and it was my aunt, my mom, and then my dad, and they all had dinner together. And then from that first date, she really liked him. And well, I'm here, so the rest is history. But so that's not to say that that can't work, but you got to really look at the whole scope of when these situations are happening, okay? Because usually when I'm talking about the whole friends thing, this is what will happen, right? A guy will be friends with a girl for a long time and not tell her that he's crushing on her. And then one day out of the blue, he's like, hey, I really like you and I want to take you out on a date. And now this girl who's been his friend forever is like, what's going on? But because they're friends, she doesn't want to hurt his feelings and say outright no. So then she'll say, well, what if I bring a friend along instead? And that's what I'm talking about. Because in those situations, that's a situation where the girl is bringing along a friend because she doesn't want to say no to your invite to hurt your feelings, but she doesn't have romantic feelings. And she already knows that based on her having a history with you. And she's probably already hung out with you by herself before in some capacity. But at that point, she didn't think you were trying to make it a date. Now that you're making it a date, she feels uncomfortable and she's getting those ew feelings, but she doesn't want to get rid of you because you're still a good friend. So she's going to bring somebody along to buffer that. And I had that happen plenty of times in college where it was like, I'd show up at the movies with a girl that agreed to go to the movies with me. And then all of a sudden I get there out of nowhere. There's a friend there with her, but we already had a rapport. So it was like, okay, so that means that she's clearly not trying to date me. Right. So if this is a situation where this other girl is saying, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm kind of nervous and apprehensive. So I need somebody to bring me along to cure my nerves. And so you as the guy have to be able to determine the difference between these situations, because you're going to have one situation where a girl's going to say, hey, can I bring a friend? But you got to look at how long have you known the girl you're trying to ask out? Is this a thing where she's trying to make it a buffer and therefore she's not actually feeling you? Or is this a girl that you just met for the first time? You asked her out and then she's saying she wants to go, but she's super duper nervous. And she comes along and says, hey, so is it cool if I bring a friend along? I just want to, make sure we have a good evening. I'm kind of nervous and blah, blah, blah. You can say to her, hey, that's totally cool. And have it be that one time that it happens. And then based on that first date, assuming that she's less nervous, then if she continues to try to bring friends along, that you can be like, okay, like now this is tripping. Now she's going from like, she was nervous to she's bringing a friend every single time. Like that's kind of weird, right? But again, you have to be good at reading situations and seeing what's actually going on, where her feelings actually are, and then determine it based on that if you're actually in a good place to where it's not going to be a detriment if you bring a friend along, or that she's not bringing a friend along to try to buffer between any potential romance you're trying to build. But even with all that said, this is still a fluke situation. So would I come on here and say, hey, you know what? You should never allow a woman to bring a friend on a date, but there's every so often, blah, 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 blah. Ultimately, I'd say no, because the majority of women out there are totally fine going on a date solo with you in a public place. No harm, no foul. All right. And so this is why I say, even though these are examples I've read now of like exceptions to the rule, I can't teach based on exceptions, because there's a high chance that you're not going to be the exception, that it really is just the girl doesn't want to see you by herself, so she's going to invite a friend along. To be like, well, yeah, you could date a single mom, but the majority of them are going to come with baggage and situations you got to fix, and you got to determine if you want to do that or not. But I can't sit here and say you should totally do that, because I think you'll be the exception, because I don't think you will be. I think you're going to fall into line with the majority of other guys, which is the majority of the time, if you're dating single moms, more often than not, there's going to be drama that comes with that. Just like more often than not, if a woman is bringing a friend along on a date, it's a high probability that she's probably just not feeling you. But again, read each of these situations. I'm just the guy on the internet giving you advice. You have to know your situation for what it is and say, okay, well, Harry, I hear your advice. My situation feels like this, so I'm going to go with my gut instinct and go with the single mom, or let this girl bring a friend on a date and say, hey, totally cool to you. I could be wrong. But for what purpose of what I do, I have to preach in generalities and things that I just know based on my dating life have overall worked. Your experience, as always, may vary.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning,